Welcome to the class or the orientation. This is optional. It's being recorded just so that you guys know, and then I'll upload the edited video onto Canvas. So what you should be seeing is my Canvas shell. And what I want to do is introduce to you the different features of Canvas, how to navigate it, but my structure might be a little bit different from the courses that you've had in the past. But let me just point you to the different features, where the information is found, talk to you about my website, how my website's really the portal by which Canvas points to get the information, and then how to submit your reports and carry out your experiments and the basis of your grade. And that is going to be covered in the syllabus section of this discussion. When you log into Canvas, on the very left menu is the navigation for Canvas. And right here on the very top, that is the accounts. If you click on that, that's where you can upload your avatar or your image. And you could also change your profile here and get notifications. So that's under accounts. The dashboard display the courses that uses Canvas. These are past and present courses that I teach. When I want to enter your class, clicking on that link, and it takes me to your class right there. The course menu just gives it to you as a list. The calendar is where you want to spend a lot of your time in terms of checking what assignments are coming up. And the thing about calendar, you got to make sure that your course is clicked on the right side here. This is for Chemistry 111, Chemistry and Society. I'm going to declick that and then click on our class. And these are the assignments that are pre-programmed. The calendar is already set for this class. So you can see that your experiments are due Sunday. These are it right here. And there's 3 parts to an experiment: the pre-lab, the data and observation, and the post-lab. And not only do you have to answer the questions in Canvas, which makes it easier and makes the grading easier, but you also have to turn in your worksheet that's found in the lab manual. That way I can see your work. But the calendar is really where you want to go to see what's coming up. The other thing that you need to remember is that the safety quiz, but don't start it until you have all your material. And then there's a syllabus quiz. That's the first few assignment. This is the calendar, and you can just go through the calendar and see that almost all your labs are going to be due on a Sunday. But the midterm and the final is on campus. That's why it's called partially online, because there's a couple of components in which you have to show up to campus. Well, you have to pick up your chemicals, but we're not meeting. You just come drive through and pick up your chemicals. I'll talk to you guys more about that. But the midterm and the final, you have to show up in a classroom here at Miramar. And if you click on any one of these things, it actually gives you a description. Click on it, take you to that assignment. Use the module. The module would be a much better way to navigate the course. And we'll talk about the module shortly here. So calendar is really important. You want to always check the calendar to see what's coming up. The inbox is where you would contact me if you want to communicate with me, and I will respond through the Canvas email system as well. If you want to start an email, just click up here on the pad, select the course, and then just put me as the instructor and then send me an email. And usually when I respond, I'll see a number out here in the inbox, and I'll just click on that and then just click on that particular message, and I will respond to that. Let's go to your class. And let me show you how I set up this class. So when you open up the course, this is how I set it up. This is the home page. It gives you information here in the bottom in terms of the announcement, where you can get the syllabus, the module page. And then right here are pretty good resource information. You can go to my website by just clicking there, or you can go to the Google Drive for this class, where I have the lab manual here as well. So I give you access to the lab manual in several places. And then you also have access to the lab manual via Canvas. You also have access to the lab manual via my webpage. Right here's my webpage. If you just do fogarces.com, you can get there and click here, and you will see that the lab manual can be accessed right here on the left menu. And if you want the individual experiment, say you don't want the whole lab manual, you just want to look at the experiment number 4, just click on that, and those are the pages for the lab manual for experiment number 4. In fact, there's a link in which it takes you to that specific page on the lab manual. This right here is actually the entire lab manual, but this will point you to experiment 4. This will point you to experiment 5. This will point you to experiment 2. So you can navigate the lab manual using my webpage. And of course, you can get Google Drive. And then there's also the YouTube playlist for this class. And you don't have to go here. These is just a compilation of videos that I've created over the years, sometimes saying the same thing. You actually want to get that information in the module page so that you're not overwhelmed. That's the home page where you can access these information. In the home page, you get the 3 most recent announcements as well. Okay, like today's posting was on using calculator. Watch this video, it's really useful, because a lot of times for students who are just starting to use calculators, it's not clear how to punch in the exponential notation in your calculator. And if you don't know how to do that, then you may know how to solve the problem, but you're getting the operation incorrect in your calculator, and you're going to get the wrong answer. You're going to be graded for something that you know, but because you have the wrong answer, because the way you punch it in your calculator, you're not going to get credit for it. So please watch this video right here in terms of the calculator use. And if you have a TI, Texas Instrument calculator, then these are the videos for that. Or even if you have a Casio or Sharp, there's a certain way in which you write exponential notation in these calculators. So that's found in the homepage. The 3 most recent announcements are always on top. If you want to see the announcement, the history, then go here. And you can see, at least in the instructor's view, that I have a bunch of other announcements that are queued up that hasn't been released yet. These are time delayed, and it's going to remind you about certain things when you get to that point in the course. So that's the announcement page. The syllabus page, you already have access to, because this is the same syllabus that I emailed you in the welcome letter. But sometimes I do update things depending on things that I may have made mistakes on. And the lab practical for your midterm is going to be online, but the midterm test itself, you have to come on campus. Your final, tell you guys taking your final exam and the lab practical. And I'll talk to you guys more about the lab practical in this course. It's not difficult, but if you never learn the fundamentals, you're going to have a difficult time with the lab practical. It's really just about measuring or reading measurements. That's what your lab practical is about. So that's found here in Canvas, the syllabus. You also find it in my webpage. There's a lot of redundancies here. The module is unique to Canvas. I don't have a module page in my webpage. I only have access to the lab manual procedures and the written documents. Module page is where you're going to spend a lot of your time. This is where the grading gets done. This is where the work gets turned in. So right here, you'll see that there is a safety quiz. There is a syllabus quiz, but the rest of these are pre-lab assignments. Like you have an experiment, there's always a pre-lab to make sure that you've read the experiments ahead of time. There's going to be the data and observation. That's not a quiz. And then there's a post-lab. And these questions are pre-programmed in Canvas. This is the Penny Lab. This is experiment number 1. It's assignment number 2 because you have a math basic assignment before this. But if you take a look at this, these are the same questions that you see in your lab manual. Let's take a look at the lab manual. you'll see that the pre-lab questions are either identical or near identical. Here's your lab manual. It's available at Mira Mesa copy. If you don't have a printer or it's going to cost you too much because of the toner and all that, Mira Mesa copy, try and get it. That way you can fill these out, because you are going to fill these out and you are going to take a photo of it, create a PDF, and then upload it, because that's part of the work in this class. It's a little bit more than what you would do if you were on campus, but because we are doing it online, actually need to see your work through these worksheets. You fill out the answer. Once you fill the worksheet out, then you can go in here, fill out these questions. It should be much easier to fill out these questions once you practice in the worksheet. Make sure that you've done the work, but the grading is done on Canvas. The grades is how you guys are going to check your progress in this class. So that's the grade. The discussion is really not much discussion unless you want to create a thread, then you can do that. Of course, SDCCD, Zoom is how we are communicating right now. And then you have access to Office. There's a Google Drive. So let's go and take a look at the different parts of Canvas so that you can see how this class is laid out for you. Again, the home is where that information is. Announcement, we're ready to talk about that. Syllabus, the module, that's where we want to spend some time. The module is organized by weeks. Course information's right here. This is your lab manual, I believe, right here under course information. I give you a lot of ways to access the lab manual. I don't really want to put any more cost burden on you other than the lab kit that you have to purchase. To keep the price low, the department give you extra equipment like the scale, like evaporating dish, like forceps. That is part of the kit that we will give you here from Miramar College, as well as the chemicals. Otherwise, you guys would be paying well over $200. To keep the cost down, we are supplying more of the more expensive equipment. But at the same time, you got to take care of our equipment because we're in a tight budget right now. So please try and take care of it, because at the end, my lab tech will tell me who has abused these things. We're not going to charge you, but you might get your grade techniques hindered by it. If something does break, let us know because we can replace it. So here's the course information. This is where the orientation video will be. The syllabus and the schedules here as well. The lab policy, the KLM, college supplies. You can see here what is going to be given to you. This is a picture, illustration, and description. So that's found right here under this information. Read this guide to complete an experiment. I will talk about it today as well, but this gives you a document, a checklist of what you need to do in order to ensure that the experiment is complete. You will be graded on each of the sections for the experiment under course information. What you want to read is guide to complete experiment and upload to Canvas, the ID format when uploading, because each time you upload a document or a photo, you got to show your ID. If you don't have a college ID, driver's license is fine, and then black out the vital information, like your address. I don't need to know where you live, your driver license number. You don't need to show your age. All I want is your name and your photo. So black it out like this example illustrates. Okay, this person blacked it out, this person blacks it out. I just want to see your photo and your name to ensure that you're doing the experiment. So this is the information. So lab, safety sample. Here's the YouTube playlist of the activities, like math basics and all that. It's there if you want to access it. It's really compiled within each experiment or activity. So you don't really need to go to this unless you want to hunt for something. Say there's a safety quiz in here. Don't start it until you have all the equipment. And it's 60 minutes. That way, you should be prepared. Try and get it done as soon as you have your material. Then let's take a look at how this is organized. So week 1, safety, get the material introduction. Next week, pick up the material. Do activity 1, math basics. That way you have it ready to turn in. This is math basics. And here's where you can get the information for that particular assignment. It's not found on my website. You click on the information link, and then it's compiled for you. My PowerPoint, the YouTube video, this right here is the link to the page for that assignment. So if you just want that assignment, just click on that. You can print it, fill it out, and then there's a redundancy here. If you want, you can go right here, and this will take pages in the lab manual. So this is in the lab manual. It points you directly to that page. PDF is just the PowerPoint that I use. If I was teaching it here on campus, I usually give a pre-lab discussion and give information about some of the math that you guys will be doing. This is a PDF file. This is the PowerPoint slide. If you click on this, you're going to download the PowerPoint slide. And then because you have access to Office 365, you can open these. And then the PowerPoint slide works. And you just go through the arrow keys on your computer. And it shows you the slides as I would present it. And here I'm integrating the question that you are doing in math basics to the problems that you will be doing for that activity. So when we talk about, say, rounding off, then I give you a discussion on that and give you examples. And then right here are the YouTube videos on dimensional analysis and math basics. You probably want to see this one. But this is the Zoom video when we were in COVID. It's basically the PowerPoint slide that I was presenting, except it's been Zoom recorded. So you can listen to how to do math operations in real time. There's a lot of resources available for you. This is just the information page. Let's go back, because this is where you are going to answer the question, type out your answer, practice in the lab manual first, and I even give you hints. I even give you a review on rounding off. If you click on that, it takes you to the YouTube. It takes you to that spot that I've created in terms of rounding off. So if you need a little bit more reminder of how to round off, then you've got information here on a hint and information here in terms of review. Here is dimensional analysis conversion. Here are unit conversions. And here is dimensional analysis review again. Once you've completed all of this, then the very last question right here, it's going to be true for all assignments that are based on the quiz engine in Canvas. If you click on this, it takes you to a page where you can now upload your worksheet. And you need to upload your worksheet. There's going to be a blue start assignment here. You click on that, and then you upload your worksheet. And sometimes your worksheet is going to have multiple pages. So that's why it's important that you guys read this part of the module, because there's a way of creating multiple pages. So let's say that you've scanned your lab manual and you've got 3 pages. Create one PDF, one file for those pages. And the way you do that, you highlight these things, and then you either right click or press on Control and click down on one of those files, and then you get the contextual menu. Go to Quick Action, and under Quick Action, create PDF. What will happen is that it will now take all those pages and create one file with all those pages and create it as a PDF, because that's how you want to turn in these work. And that's described in Canvas under creating guide to complete experiment and upload Canvas. It shows you how to do that. So make sure you know how to do that. Take all the work that you're going to be doing, the data sheet, that is, just the data sheet and the photo. Don't upload your pre-lab. You upload your pre-lab and your post-lab in the different sections, but it has to be a PDF file for that particular section. So that's the activity. You complete the activity, you create one PDF if it's multiple page, and then you upload it on that last question under Math Basics. Initially, for the first 5 assignments, if you upload your worksheet, you get 1 or 2 points. After that, it's required, because I want to make sure that we're on the same page in terms of having me see your work. Now, let's take a look at an experiment. How is an experiment different from an activity? And for an experiment, let's go to experiment number 2. The reason why we want to do experiment number 2 is because experiment number 2 is the most important experiment in this course. It's your SLO, it's your lab practical. So if you take a look at experiment number 2, different from an activity, you click on the information as well. That'll give you the resource you need, the experiment from the lab manual. Then each of these are the different sections for the pre-lab, the data sheet, and the post-lab. Here's the PowerPoint, and this is the most recent YouTube video for this experiment. Conversion factors that you might need and other resources are down here. Again, the information page is where you get the information for this experiment. Let's go back. Then the pre-lab, 2 points bonus if you turn in the worksheet, because if you take 8 plus 22 plus 19, that's 50. The plus 2 bonus points here gives you 4 points if you turn in your worksheet. That doesn't mean you're not going to turn in your worksheet, because if you don't turn in your worksheet, you get -5. You need to turn in your worksheet. I give you a bonus if you turn in your worksheet, but I really give you a bad deduction if you don't. I need to see the work. So if you click on that, what you will see again is you can access again the worksheet here. I give you a lot of redundancy, but let's take a look at this pre-lab. The same questions, slightly different. The numbers might be different. Topics or the concepts are the same. When you answer these questions in Canvas, it's based on the numbers that you see in Canvas, not what you see in the lab manual. If you worked on the lab manual, then these problems are going to be very similar, and you should be able to get through it easily. Some of the numbers are identical. Some of the numbers are slightly different. You just have to remember that, because you guys are going to be graded based on your work that's written here on Canvas, based on the numbers that you are given. So here, you complete these. These are the pre-lab. And then you want to click here. That'll take you to a different page. And then you just upload the worksheet here. And that'll get you your 2 points bonus. You go back. You can now submit this, and you're done for the pre-lab. Then we go back. You do the experiment. When you do the experiment, then you're going to collect data right here. This is the data and observation. That's 22 points. And then you have to upload your data sheet. You do the experiment. You write on the data sheet. This is what the data sheet looks like. You complete this. There are no questions in Canvas. You just upload your data sheet. Then I go in by hand and grade these individually. I make sure that your numbers are within the right magnitude and the units are shown. Then when you are done, you also need to upload the photos for this data sheet. Start the assignment. It's essential that you submit your work with the proper file name. File name is important. The data sheet. Also show your college ID or other ID with each of the pages. And don't forget to include the photos of the different procedures. So if you want to know where that's found, if you look at the lab manual, and let's go to experiment number 2, you will see in yellow all the photos that you will need for that experiment. You need to take a digital close-up of the temperature reading. of the thermometer in the water beaker. You need to take a digital close-up of yourself measuring your height on a wall. You need to take a digital close-up of 3 graduate cylinder filled 3/4. And again, it ensures me that you're doing the experiment rather than just copying someone else. And within each of these close-up, you got to place your ID within that photo when you upload it. And that's, again, explained to you in the lab manual. Yeah, there's a lot of hurdles in this particular class, but we want to keep the integrity of the class, because when students cheat and just turn in someone's work, it makes it more difficult for future students. And in order for this class to be transferable, we need to ensure that and tell the folks in the university that this is how we're ensuring that this class is done honestly. That's the important part in the data sheet. The data sheet is where you have to take photos and upload not only the data sheet, but also the photos. Let me go back and tell you about the post-lab questions. The post-lab questions are going to be like the pre-lab, except you're going to be answering those questions after the experiment. This post-lab questions, 19 points. Let's take a look at the worksheet, what it looks like. That's basically a whole bunch of conversions. You're taking the temperature and converting it to Fahrenheit and Kelvin. You're taking the mass of the evaporating dish in milligrams and converting it to milligrams, kilograms, and pounds. So it's just about conversion process. And if you do that correctly with the correct number of significant figures, then you'll get 19 points plus the 2 points bonus when you upload your worksheet. You click here and you preview this experiment. There's the questions again. You just put the answers here. And then the very last question, it'll take you to a link where you can upload your post-lab. So the pre-lab has a section where you upload that document. The data and observation has a section where you upload the data and observation, as well as the photos. And the post-lab has a section where you upload the worksheet, as well as answer the questions in Canvas. That's how you complete an experiment. Okay, there's always 3 parts, and within each part, you have to remember how to answer the questions in Canvas and then upload the worksheet. Again, as a reminder, I explain all that right here. That's why I have that section. Guide to complete experiments and upload to Canvas. Because there's a lot of information to process when you're just starting. So you want to refer to this page right here so you understand what's going on. That pretty much is how to navigate Canvas. Let's look at the syllabus real quick, because I want to give you an overview of what you have in store for this semester. Again, the information that you will need, this is how to contact KLM Bioscientific. You want to pre-purchase, that way you can just drive up and pick it up. You don't have to do any cash exchange or anything, and they'll have the right number of kits to bring out for the class. You do need safety goggles. You need a calculator if you don't already have one. And then there are other materials that you would need if you don't already have this in your home, like a first aid kit, nitrile gloves. You need a fire extinguisher. And it's good to have one anyway if you don't have one at home. If you live in an apartment, I don't think you need to get one, because there'll be a fire extinguisher outside. You just need to take a photo of yourself next to the fire extinguisher. This is the learning outcomes. This is a description of the course, how to submit your assignments based on the file name. Bryce is our lab tech. If you have questions about the chemicals or equipment, email Bryce or give him a call, or you can contact me. This is the schedule right here. The schedule shows that the first week, come to Miramar and pick up your equipment, the chemicals, and the equipment supplied by Miramar College. Then work on this activity because it's due Sunday night. You want to pay attention to the second experiment, because making measurement based on the precision of the graduated cylinder or ruler is your lab practical. Your lab practical, at least the first one, will give you illustrations of different measurements. And you have to go in there, look at the graduated cylinder and read that measurement based on the scale of the graduated cylinder. You got to be able to read a thermometer. You got to be able to read a scale. Pretty straightforward. It's going to be based on photos. And then on your final, when you come in, we're actually going to have graduated cylinders, thermometers, scale, and you guys are going to have to go in and take these measurements live. And that's going to be the basis of your lab practical and the points thereafter. Here we have all the things in turquoise are experiment. All the things in green are activities. You don't have to break out the lab kit for these parts right here. This experiment 4 is a video lab where you watch the video and write your observations and take screenshots. You don't have to mix chemicals on that. And this experiment right here is a gas simulation where you go to a site and you do a pressure chamber device and you take measurements on it. So there are two like virtual lab, one's a video lab, another's a virtual lab. The rest, you do have to mix chemicals. The rest of this, it tells you when you are going to work on it and when they're due. They're usually due that Sunday before midnight, but I do give you a grace period of about 11 o'clock the following morning. So if you just come from work and you're trying to get things done, and it's past midnight, you do have a grace period of 11 o'clock the following morning. If you miss it, then you do get to drop one assignment, whether it be an activity or an experiment. They're both worth the same. They're both worth 50 points. Keep that in mind. Here is the breakdown. 9 experiments, 8 best, 400 points. 4 activities, 4 best. These are actually combined because this is 50 points. If you miss an activity, then I will have to count all 9 experiment because one of the activities is dropped. Anyway, together they make 600 points. You have a safety syllabus and exam, that's worth 275 points, nearly 30% of your grade. Participation techniques, making sure that you take care of the equipment, that's worth 50 points. Lab practical, the first one's 25 points, the second one's worth 50 points. That's 75 points. Together, it's a 1,000-point system. Okay, each experiment's only worth 50 points. Look at the breakdown in the module because it tells you for each section how many points each are worth. They're not all weighted the same. Some pre-labs are worth more than others. Some data and observations are worth more than others. So pay attention to which ones are going to gain you points, because at the end of the semester, if you've got 900 points or better, you've aced this class. Okay, if you've got 800 points to about 890, then you've got made a B in this class. That's my grading formula for this course, is based on a 1,000-point system, and you can see it right here. You can see it right here in terms of the breakdown. 100% is 1,000 points. 90% is 900 points. The rest of this is just information that you can read. Your midterm, your final. Your final and midterms are 9 to 12. Make time for that. If you've got conflict, make sure that you take off work. It's the midterm. Then your final is going to be counted as your midterm as well. If you miss the final, that's going to shoot you down in terms of a grade. You're not going to pass this class if you don't take the final. Take a look at that. Those are the only 2 important dates in this entire calendar. Pick up the chemicals, yes. Those are the mandatory date. That's why it's called partially online. Oh, one thing I want to mention, if you look at the very end of the syllabus, it does give you information of what equipment you will need for each experiment. Experiment 1, this is what KLM will supply. This is what Miramar College supplies. This is what you need, or what you will supply. This is what KLM will have. This is what we will give you. This is what you will need. Okay, what you will need basically is like scientific calculator, measuring tape, if you're going to not use the ruler, things like that. So this is a good summary to check before each experiment. It's also written in the lab manual. And then here's a matrix of all the equipment that you will be using for each experiment again. And then here's an illustration of what those things look like. So, take a look at this. It explains to you again the chemical supplies, the submission to Canvas, making sure that you clean everything after each experiment and don't just throw everything in a baggie and expect to turn that in. You're going to get points deducted. We're not going to charge you, but you are going to get points deducted. I don't want to upset my lab tech. He's a really good guy. He bends backwards a lot. You don't want to give him more work. They're already doing more above and beyond for this class. So please make it easy on them. So the rest of this, just a description of the class, but that basically is the gist of this class. You're going to be graded on the activities and the experiments. You're going to have the midterm, the safety quiz, and the syllabus quiz, and the final. Those adds up to 275 points. Okay, that's about 25%, 30% of the grade. If you do decent on those and you do well on the experiment, you can get an A in this class. It's not difficult. The experiment itself should take about an hour. It's the writing up, writing the data, and then putting the information in Canvas that is going to wear on you. But if you time it, you should be able to complete the whole entire assignment within 3 hours, which is, thank you. You guys have a good evening.